can't be. I'm uncomfortable. Turn the volume up.
Hey, welcome to the Ministry Mix podcast, where we're bringing you real conversations for the souls and strategies of ministry leaders. My name is Phil Gifford, and I'm joined by my co-host, Richard Pope.
Blah, 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 blah.
Whether you are a seasoned pastor or leader, or just stepping into a leadership role for the first time, we're here to share our stories, insights, and practical advice to help you lead strategically while also caring for your soul. Each episode is some random things we decide to talk about to mix up to help dive into topics that matter for your mission, your calling, and your personal growth. In this episode today, we are talking about moving people toward the mission that God has for them.
Yeah.
So really 8 ways to help the people in your church, your team, move toward mission.
Yeah. I just shared this quote last Sunday, the Sunday before recording, from Charles Spurgeon. Every Christian is either a missionary or an imposter. Mm-hmm. And that line, that's a powerful idea.
I share that quote like at least twice a year.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, as a pastor, a ministry leader, even just maybe a member of a church, help encourage and push the people of God towards living out the mission of God, which I think is our calling as a group?
Yeah, ministry leaders are ultimately not just fulfilling a function that happens on Sunday mornings, but there is a goal to help our people, especially those in senior leadership, pastoral ministry, are helping to pursue the mission. I mean, the Great Commission is kind of the summary of the church, and we do these things for mission, but to move people toward mission.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we kind of came up with 8 ideas to help you move your people toward mission more as they serve and as the life cycle of your church goes forward. Ways to get your people out and going. So you want to? Oh, I guess I'm starting.
Yeah. So read the show notes, you goober.
Well, there's our show notes are not exactly in-depth show notes.
Oh, they're in-depth, Phil.
There's something. So what we are doing is our first tip that I'm sharing is to tell stories of everyday mission. Basically, one of the ways, the first way, in fact, I would say this is like anybody can do this, is to, when you hear of mission, when you have a story of mission, but tell stories and highlights to your people. Mm-hmm. So that could be something as simple as in your sermon or in your discipleship group or whatever it is, find a way to connect that teaching toward a missionary story. If you have done something, that's great. Like if you shared Jesus, or if somebody in your church has shared Jesus, or if you've served a neighbor, or anything that you've done to live out the mission of Jesus. And I would be careful to always use you as the example, but like the more personal to your church, the better. Yeah. But you could also share missionary stories or testimonies.
Well, there's that old preaching advice. Don't be the hero of your illustrations.
Yeah.
I would say it's fine to share, and I'd say even good to share how you've seen God move in your witness.
People need to see that you're doing this.
But I think it's better they see it from you than hear it from you.
Yeah.
Like, find ways to spotlight members of your church who are doing it. Find ways to share stories of other churches in your community who are doing it.
Yeah.
Right? To give them a kingdom-sized mission, not a church-sized mission.
Yeah. If it's always Richard or Phil or this pastor or you, there's something wrong. But I do think it's okay to sometimes talk about struggles and and even wins. Like, I talked to this person. I actually am more likely to share outreach stories that have gone wrong as like an encouragement to our people than necessarily things that I've done well. But the point is, when you see something that's moving people toward mission, when you see something that is where you're going for, find a way to highlight it, make it a sermon illustration, make it a testimony, put it on social media, share it, from anything from this person praying for another person. Find a way to put that into your sermon and your teaching time. That'll encourage people to do it more.
Yeah. I think all the rest of these, not that telling stories is the most important. I think that honestly, I think of the way the word talks about like our witness, our testimony. I do think that's actually probably one of the more important things you can do.
Yeah, I just think communicating. Before we move to the next one, I was convicted because we talked about we want to see more baptisms this year in our church. And we're like, I think I'm just going to start setting up the baptistry every week. Not necessarily filling it with water unless we have one scheduled, but I want people to see the baptistry every week. Because as a portable church, we set up, we tear down. If we don't have a baptism, we don't set up the baptism. So people forget sometimes. Like in a traditional church, sometimes you have like the baptistry back there already set up. I think there's something important about your people seeing the end goal. And so stories are a way of them seeing and hearing and weekly infusing that mission into their lives.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Hey, the second one is this: normalize small, consistent steps. In other words, I think most people come to Jesus because of consistent encouragement, consistent witness, consistent testimony, consistent examples, consistent love. It can seem really scary, especially for newer believers, to try and share the gospel with somebody.
Yeah.
But I say that, but a lot of times it's even the more mature believers. I remember reading, it's like 2%, I think Barna said, of Christians share their faith a year.
Yeah.
That's a huge, that's 98% of the church has not been activated for mission, if that's true. So consistently encourage your people to take small, bite-sized steps. In our church, we talk about it as lean cuisine witnessing.
Okay.
In other words, you don't have to deliver a crock pot. You don't have to go up to someone and explain the deep theology of the gospel. And you don't have to go up and explain everything about the Old Testament. Everything.
Right.
Give them a lean cuisine. Hey, Jesus loves you. What does that mean? Well, the Bible says. Mm-hmm. Like little small things, I think also will, in the long term, actually create more of an impact.
Yeah. And I think you just have... The truth is, for someone to hear about Jesus and even want to understand who Jesus is, it's going to take not just one engagement, it's going to take multiple engagements.
Absolutely.
So like your quick reminder that Jesus loves them, or you asking your waiter how to pray for them, or you picking up trash with your church shirt on, or some way to connect it to Jesus is like just this moment where it can cumulatively move someone's heart toward Jesus. So those normalized small steps and consistent go a long way. The third idea is incorporating prayer for missions. The third way to move your people toward missions is to incorporate prayer for this. And this is something that Canvas does really well. If you want to see missions being normal in your church, we need to make sure that we are praying for it. I would say every gathering.
I agree.
There is not a reason why a co-mentor of ours or a person we've looked up to, Clint Clifton, talked about how he wanted to be a church planting church, like a church that he wanted to start a church planting movement.
Yeah.
And from day one, when there was nobody at his church, that was their DNA. Because what he said is every Sunday we would pray for a church planter by name, what they were doing. And so every single Sunday they would be praying for a church planter. And that not only is prayer, so it's effective, right? You're praying for people. That's not a bad thing. But that became a DNA thing for them because this is what we are about. We pray for church planters every Sunday. Yeah. Like how cool would it be for one of their church people to have grown up and then like in Pillar and then go to another church and be like, wait, you're not praying for church planters? That's weird. Like that, I find that weird. So I would say like in your time of prayer, is there moments where you're praying for the people, praying for missionary opportunities, praying for your church to see people get baptized?
Well, we something we do at Canvas that we've really just started this year. So I guess we've done it for a month. We've consistently had a rhythm of praying for lost people in the service. But something we started doing is every time we have a baptism, so typically at our church, because we have a permanent building now, horse trough in the sanctuary, we leave it up. You talk about leaving it, it's up every Sunday. We don't move it, also because it's heavy. But it's like first song, we do a Welcome in the Apostles' Creed, second song, third song. Baptisms go there when we have them most of the time. And then we have a fourth song, then the sermon. Well, when we have a baptism, we'll do the baptism and then we'll give our people a chance to respond in prayer.
That's good.
So we'll say like, hey, who can you be praying for to see baptized here? Who should you be praying for that you'll get the opportunity to share the gospel with and then baptize? And what's kind of cool is we started doing that in early February. And there's been people last week, first week of March, that were prayed for by name by members on the first week of February.
Yeah.
So like it's actually like our people, and that I think that is contagious. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, oh wait, we just baptized X. So and so prayed out loud for X to be baptized 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I should try that prayer thing. Like I think it's like encouraging to the people.
Yeah, it really. Yeah. That chair is noisy in my headphones.
Sorry.
But I do think like you don't need a budget for this.
No.
You don't need a strategy for this. If you can just start as a church praying for mission opportunities.
That chair is so loud.
So loud, dude.
I'll just sit up.
Not a bad choice. But if you can get your people praying, it makes a big deal.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hey, the next one is connect missions to daily life rhythms. I wish I could say that I was great at this. I'll tell you who I think is great at this. He's kind of minor Christian celebrity. But who are you talking about? Zach?
No.
The skeleton in the office? No, his name's Mark Dever, 9 Marks Wealthy Church, Capitol Hill Baptist. So I had lunch with him a couple months ago, maybe back in August.
Yeah.
And he goes to this like salad place that's like a block from their church, like every day. And people who know and have heard of Mark Dever know that it used to be a Subway. Every single day, this guy went to Subway for lunch, or 5 days a week or 4 days a week. Right. It sounds so awkward, but here's why he did it. And I'll be honest, I'm looking around, I'm like, bro, there are better restaurants to hit up every day than Subway. But he does it because,
awful.
Well, you don't like Subway?
No, it's fine.
I love Subway.
Just not every day.
Okay, shut up. Every day is a Subway
Keep telling
day.
your story.
Every day is a Subway day.
Keep telling your story.
$5
Jerry.
Do they even have a $5 phone? You could not talk about Jerry anymore.
Oh, what happened? Oh, I don't know.
He came out as a child sex abuser.
All right, we should have this podcast now.
Yeah, Phil just learned that Jerry is not. Yeah, Jerry went to jail for.
I don't pay attention.
Abusing children. Regardless, Mark never went to Subway every day. and the reason he did was very simply, Mark said, man, if I go to the same place, these people will get to know me. So he just said, hey, my lunch period, my lunchtime, my lunch break every day that I'm in the office, I am giving to mission. And I don't know if anybody ever got baptized from that Subway, whatever, but that Subway's gone. So now it's this salad place. And I meet Mark Dever for lunch. I show up at Capitol Hill and there's a level of awe. Like, this is Capitol Hill.
Right.
He's like, do you want to stand in my pulpit? And I'm like, yes, I want to stand in your pulpit. Right. It's a beautiful old church. Yeah. Really, really well oiled machine pumping out young pastors. But he's like, hey, we're going to get salads. And I'm like, oh, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, are we going to a restaurant? And he's picking what I'm eating for me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know the detail. Like,
okay.
Like, whatever you say, Mark Never, you're Mark Never. That's the 10th mark. Eat salads. But we get to the place and I'm like, oh, this is only a salad place. The people know him by name. When he's talking, the people are like, hey, Pastor Mark. People who very obviously were not Christian.
Yeah.
When you build in when you just give up, man, I'm going to go to the same coffee shop. Or when you make the commitment, I'm going to say hi to that neighbor every time I see him. Mm-hmm. Or when you say, hey, I'm going to go to this Food Lion. That's a grocery store in Salisbury. And my wife does this. There's a lady there that every time Peyton goes there, she purposely will kind of take an extra minute at the checkout line to see if that woman's working. And if she is, she talks to her.
Right.
Those are simple things anybody can do.
Yep.
It's easy.
And everyone's got to eat lunch.
Go to Subway every day.
Yeah, and you lock it in. I mean, to a degree, we did that a second ago. Like, we walked to a coffee shop downtown.
Right by my church, yeah.
And you knew, like, it's a newer coffee shop, so it hasn't been, like, locked, but you knew their stories of the people working there. You knew them. So, yeah, we're going to drink coffee. Why not be missionally intentional with your coffee? Right. And so just find ways to, at your jobs, at where you go to the gym. Like, if you go to the gym at the same time, or just looking for ways to say, how can I link what I'm already doing to mission opportunities to be involved?
Yeah.
The fifth option, or fifth way to move your people toward mission, is to celebrate missional wins, not just attendance victories. And so, like, what I mean by that point is that it's easy for us to celebrate the notable, exciting Sundays. We had 275 people in worship. We had our biggest attendance Sunday. We did this. We did this. If the end game is to move your people toward missions, then attendance shouldn't be the main thing you celebrate.
Amen.
So I think, we track attendance. I think it helps us make decisions.
You track attendance now?
Because of you.
That's good.
Yeah, you're welcome. I didn't track attendance for 6 years. And then I was like, I should maybe do this.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself.
You influenced me in maybe a good way. I don't know.
We'll find out in a couple of years.
Yeah. But celebrate what you want to be the culture of your church. And so if you want your culture to be all about just numbers of people showing up Sunday morning, then that's what you're going to celebrate. If you just talk about, we had our biggest Sunday ever. But what's more important is maybe Bob or Sally.
Yeah.
And hey, for the first time ever, Bob had a chance to share his faith with his neighbor, and or whatever it looks like, right? So make a big deal about those sort of missional wins. And you guys get to do this at Canvas because you guys have such a good rhythm of baptism and prayer. Like, I feel like you make a big deal of, I've heard you say 4 or 5 times about the person that was prayed for in early January who was baptized this week. Like, you're excited about it.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that it's very easy to make missions complicated. I also think it's fairly easy to make missions simple. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, just do it. Like, I feel like a lot, like, and this is why, and this is maybe a preference, and maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole here that you should stop me from. I'm not a huge fan of the baptism Sunday thing. Like, you set a day.
No.
If you've not been baptized.
Splash Sunday.
Yeah. Dude, if you have one, do one. We'll hold them off sometimes, like strategically. Like if we have someone who's like, hey, I just made a decision to follow Jesus, we've talked to them.
Yeah.
Pastor interview, like, we're not just dunking everybody, but, okay, well, in 2 Sundays it's our anniversary. Let's do it on our anniversary Sunday. Or this Sunday we have like the Gideons coming and we're doing a missions off. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it the next moment, but I am saying, like, when you make baptism a big holiday, you make mission a once a year thing.
Yeah.
When you make baptism a regular rhythm, when you make celebrating baptism a regular rhythm, you make missions a daily commitment. And I think that's a culture shift.
Well, I listened to a podcast out of, I think it was Texas. It was a church planting group in Texas. And they talked about, if you want to see more baptisms in your church, do them more regularly.
Yeah.
But also don't just celebrate baptism on the baptism Sunday. Like if Jim is getting baptized, wants to get baptized, the week before he's being baptized, have him stand up and not introduce him to the church. Hey, come back next week. Jim has decided to follow Jesus. We've interviewed him. He's getting baptized next Sunday. Let's celebrate that together.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, say, hey, in case you weren't here last week, Jim got baptized and we're so excited. So you actually begin to kind of like celebrate baptism on both sides of the event rather than just one big Sunday where there's, 300 people get baptized, but it's just one Sunday.
Yeah.
So we like to give enough space for them to invite the important people in their lives.
Sure.
Because we want to use it as a missionary opportunity. Yeah. And to hear their testimony and to interview them.
Yeah.
But I would not wait too long. Now, for us, we're complicated for our church.
It's different when you're portable.
We're portable, and we also cannot. I've never asked. I just assumed the answer would be no. Hey, can we put a giant tub inside your nice school building?
Yeah.
It's going to be no.
Yeah.
It's going to be no. And why are you asking me?
Absolutely.
So we only typically do baptisms during the summer,
right,
or the warmer months,
right,
and then we would schedule if we had to. We think we have before, borrow a church, but I just like to do them Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I just like to do when the church is there.
So
celebrate that is the whole point of this, is to celebrate the missionary wins, not just the metric wins.
Yeah. The next one is provide low risk mission opportunities. Listen, I think there's 1,000 ways you can do this. But when you give your people, I'm going back to my lean cuisine thing. That's really what that is. It might be a lot to ask someone who just is new to the faith. Hey, we want you to go to Walmart and we want you to hand out Bible tracts and we want you to ask people, do you know where you're going when you die? Yeah. That's a lot. I'm also not sure of the effectiveness of that, but I'll tell you what's really easy. Hey, once a year, we're going to just do this thing at our church.
Yeah.
Where we're going to encourage everyone to invite their neighbors over for dinner. And the Sunday before that, we're going to pray for those neighbors. And when they come over for dinner, all you're going to do is talk normally. Be normal. You're not going to ask them if they want to sing VeggieTale songs. But at the end, you're going to say, hey, I'd love to invite you to my church. Yeah. That's such an easy thing to do. Now, it's challenging enough that I think it'll grow our people. Yeah. But it's not so challenging. And it doesn't have to be your neighbor. Okay, who's a friend? Invite your friend over, your non-believing friend. And imagine this. Imagine if a church of 100, let's say, imagine if 50 couples in your church do that, right? Or 50 people. Yeah. So you have 50 friends come over.
Taking low risk missionary opportunities.
Yeah. But also I would say one of the ways to make it low risk is to make it a communal thing. Yeah. Hey, we're all going to do that this weekend. We're all going to invite a friend over. We're all going to drink coffee with a friend this week, whatever the thing may be.
And it feels like we broke down our missionary strategy. We did this push a couple years ago, where we just told them, all I want you to do is do 3 things every week. Yeah. I want you to pray every day for people who are unreached in your life. Who has God put you in your life? To pray every day. That's pretty low risk, easy. Yeah. And then look 1 week. Well, every week I want you to look for 2 things to do, or 3 things to do. I want you to look for someone that you can serve and bless. I want you to look for someone that you can share and encourage. And obviously with a gospel focus, and I want you to take some intentional ways to sharpen your understanding of Jesus in your life. Yeah. Do those 4 things. One is daily, other ones are weekly. If you've never worked out before or done anything with fitness before, and you wouldn't tell somebody to go do an Ironman. Hey, I want to get healthy. Okay, let's do an Ironman. I mean, there are some people that do that. There are a few, the 2% kind of the crazy, sure, I've never run I've never run in my life. I've never biked in my life. I don't even know how to swim, but sure, I'll sign up for a Ironman. Yeah. I'll bike 120 miles and swim 3 miles and run a marathon. But if you were hey, let's do a 5K together. Let's go to the gym every day. Like, find a way that's not going to make it just uncomfortable enough to push them. So good. But not necessarily scare them away.
So good.
So the seventh thing is to equip people with simple tools. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying. Make it easy for them to enter into this. For most people, having a tool or having something that can help them strategically do this and take that first step is easy. So, for instance, maybe it's a template to write out a testimony. Here's who I was before Christ, write a sentence. Here's how I met Jesus, write 2 sentences. Here's what's happened after I wrote a sentence. And so they got a tool now to capture their testimony or their story. Or maybe it's like we used to do this, usually around Easter, actually. I do an Easter, I think last year we did this. I put together an Easter conversation guide.
Wow.
And it was 8 questions that you could ask a person that would probably lead to a gospel conversation.
Wow.
In other words, like, hey, do you have any plans for Easter? Like, do you have any plans for Easter weekend? Most people will share what they're doing, and it may include church, it may not. But then an easy follow up to that is, do you guys? Our family. Like, sometimes they say, well, what do you do for Easter? And you get a chance to share about your church, and then now you're not just like putting an Easter invite in their hands. You've created a conversation about their life and your life in an exchange. I don't want to make it sound gimmicky, right? I hope that doesn't sound gimmicky.
No,
but sometimes people just need a little bit of help to have those hard conversations where, here's a social media post you could do. Here's a way to share Jesus.
Dude, here's a postcard to an event you could invite someone to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just make a tool. Make it easy for them to do.
When we did the series Habits of a Healthy Soul, which we did and then you took.
Yes. You gave it to me.
Yeah. But
and the graphics.
I want to be clear that we did it first. Thanks.
Wait till I publish a book with that name on it.
Too late. Yeah, when we did that series, we made postcards, and I think they said something like for each of the weeks, because we did 10 weeks. We did it for a long time. It was 10. It was a 10S word, like simplicity, shalom, stewardship, Sabbath, simplicity. You get the idea.
Yeah,
sacrifice,
lots
whatever,
of S's.
Serving. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, we had a postcard for each one. So it was like, how is your soul with blank? And we told people to give those out, and it would be an invite to that week's sermon.
Gotcha.
It was an easy conversation starter. So like, how's your week with, how's your soul with, how healthy is your soul in terms of simplicity? People are willing to talk. I found that non-spiritual people are often willing to talk about spiritual things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what statistic it was, but Barna put together, like when you have, I think it's like something like 30% of people will typically say yes. I'm making these statistics up based on okay. I'm not making them up. I am
Barna, aka Phil.
I am trying to remember as accurate as I can.
Sure.
But it was somewhere around 30% of people will say yes if personally invited to church, which is not bad, right? Like that, your neighbor has a 30% chance of saying yes. That's not terrible. That's not awesome. But it was somewhere around 70% of people are willing to have a spiritual conversation with you, or more than that. It was like 80%. It was high. Would be willing to talk about a spiritual conversation with somebody. Yeah. So like finding a tool to leverage that. Here's a kind of a pivot for a second. Do you think printable material in 2025 are still helpful tools? Invite cards, business cards, whatever it looks like.
Yes and no. I think anything that starts conversation is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to keep like church invite business cards in my wallet, but like I don't anymore. Maybe I should.
Yeah, I think creative ones.
Yeah.
So like, I think a card saying "sit with me" is stupid and very 2015. I think a card. Yeah, I think a card that says
some churches would be lucky if we got to 2015. No, I'm just picking.
Whoa,
a little shady. Sorry.
I think a card that says like, okay, so we're doing a series. We're doing a series called Theology of Food later this year. Feasting, fasting, gluttony, alcohol, talking about all those things. Wow. It just seems, I think it's actually super relevant. Most people overeat, undereat, right? You look at the culture. Yeah. Gluttony is the most popular sin that no Southern Baptist pastor talks about. Can I say that on the podcast?
Absolutely.
It's too late now.
You don't edit, maybe.
Yeah. All that being said, we're probably going to make invite cards that say something to the tune of like, what does the Bible say about food? Yeah. What does the Bible say about alcohol? What does the Bible say about feasting? What does the Bible say about fasting? Yeah. What does the Bible say about dieting? So we'll make cards with those different questions, and we'll just challenge people. Hey, if you just want somebody to apply to, give it to them.
That's a great. I like
that. I think works.
Yes,
but not sit with me at Christ Oak Chapel on the fourth day, Jesus. Like what? Okay. Or like my favorite is the postcards with the pastor and his wife, and it's just them like in a picture frame, and it's like their story. It's like nobody gives a crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
unfortunately. Fortunately.
I think this is not really the subject, but like tapping into people's curiosity.
Yeah. 100%.
Is always better than just trying to get them to take an action without anything. So yeah, finding a way to get them talking and engaging is great. So.
I agree. Hey, the last one is make being mission part. Phil just did something weird with his hand. He like just touched my hand. Make being mission part.
Touched my hand.
I did not touch your hand.
Well, I was turning up and down your mic because you can't stay close to your microphone.
There's no Barry Manilow playing in the castle, but it's getting weird.
I'm sweating now.
What Barry Manilow? Was it Barry Manilow last time? What was
it? We had to edit that
Mangione that we talked. Did you edit it?
I tried to.
All right, last one. Sorry for you listener. Make being mission part of a church culture.
Yeah.
Mission, something we say at Canvas. So at Canvas, we don't have values. We have a strategy, partly because it's trendy and cool, but also because I like being able to say this. So most churches have values. We pray, we gather, whatever. We have a strategy. It's pray, gather, give, and seek and share beauty. And I love being able to say this isn't just what we do, it's who we are.
Yeah.
So like we don't just pray, we are people who pray. Like we don't just seek and share beauty, which for us is that rhythm of mission. It's we seek Jesus and we're so amazed by the beauty of Jesus that the natural response to the beauty of Jesus is then to share the beauty of Jesus. And I tell people almost every week, this isn't what we do, it's who we are. We seek Jesus and we share Jesus. And I honestly think if you want to talk about the Westminster Catechism, chief end of man is to know God and enjoy him. Mm-hmm. I think we tend to share about what we enjoy. Yeah. So when you make the culture of your church mission, when you make the culture of your church, I think it's preaching. I think it's the way you, even this, like we just did a soul care workshop. A friend of Phil and I's, Jim Collins, was in town. We messaged our flocks, our ministry teams, and we said, hey, this would be a great opportunity to invite someone who is struggling emotionally. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like our people think those things because we constantly say those things.
You've built a culture of that's what you do.
I read a book about Obama, regardless of if you love him or hate him, and how like his basically it was about like marketing, and it used Obama as like a cultural narrative. Like how did Obama win? I think the first time it was changed was his his slogan. Man, love, hate Obama. This isn't a political statement. He made like, this is a movement. This is what you can be a part of change. Like he made it a verb. And in this book, it talked about, I'm hitting the desk and it's making noise. In the book, it talked about how when you can invite someone into something and they can take something from you and run with it, it's culture. When it's on a wall, it's aspirations.
Yeah.
So like your vision statement, your values as a church cannot just be on the wall. It has to be like written on the wall and written on people's hearts.
Yep.
And it has to lead to action.
This is a total side thought, which you don't have time for because the episode's about to be done. But like one of the things that I do to make sure our culture is on the right direction here is whenever we do our membership class, every time we do a membership class, I put up our values on the screen and I say, where have you seen these and where have you not? Like, would you have guessed these if I didn't put them up here?
Wow.
And that's like kind of an honest moment, right?
Have you ever had someone just rip you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
I want that though, right?
Yeah, you do.
Because honestly, we don't want them to be aspirational. We want them to be actual, observed. We see this in how we live life.
Yeah.
So find a way to make missions a part of your culture so that way your people can't help. If they're a part of your church, this will rub off on them. This will be part of who they are and they'll go forward with it. It's good stuff.
Good stuff. Guys, your job as a pastor, if I could just end on this for you pastors, is not to do mission. It's to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. Yep. So as you listen to this episode, man, I want to encourage you, Phil and I want to encourage you, think through your systems, your strategy, your culture at your church, and then send this to another ministry leader that you work with maybe. Send this to someone else in your church. And maybe this could start a good conversation. What of these do we do well? What of these do we not do well?
Yep. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ministry Mix podcast. If you found today's conversation and discussion helpful, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of our episodes.
Don't miss anything.
And if you could, take a minute to review it, give us your feedback so that way the algorithm will send this to other leaders just like you.
5 stars only.
If you got questions or topics you'd like to hear about, connect with us on social media. Let us know what to think. Hey, if you have a way to help move people toward mission that we didn't mention, make sure you comment on the post. We'd love to know what you're thinking. Until next time,
tell us.
Keep leading with purpose and caring for your soul.
Yes, bye-bye.